Hello, my fellow Americans. 'Tis I, the Rumpled One. This is a video response to LNT. Old veteran owns the NFL. My quick comment to you, LNT, is the Matrix has you. Now, I respect the fact that you get to have your own opinion, just like I get to have mine. But there's a few things I take issue with. For the most part, you got your facts straight. I'll give you that. But there's a difference between fact and opinion. You know, you cite the statistics. Something about, what was it, some 0.0001% or something of black people being suspects of the police and winding up dead. You said it was about 400. You said you used a big number. Well, that's over one a day. And I don't know where you come from, but one is one too many. And you say 400? That's nothing to be concerned about? Are you kidding me? Why don't you tell that to the mothers and fathers and brothers and sisters and cousins and aunts and uncles and children of those people who got killed at the hand of the police? You got to remember, police are supposed to protect you, not kill you. And you know, you say you love this country. Well, you know, it's kind of like high school. You might love your high school, and you know, anybody talks bad about your high school, you'll fight them. But, you know, amongst your fellow students, you say how your high school sucks. Well, it's kind of like America. Yeah, you know, somebody wants to diss America. Yeah, you know, I'm going to stand up for it. On the same token, you know, there's a lot of broken promises. And when the country disrespects somebody because of the color of their skin, why should they respect the country? Let's define our terms. What's country? Are we talking about the geographical landmass? No, we're talking about the people and the systems. You know, the flag is supposed to represent something. It's supposed to mean something. It's symbolic. But when those symbols don't, you know, when the country that has these symbols doesn't live up to their end of the bargain, I mean, then all bets are off. And then you talk about these athletes who make millions of dollars. They wouldn't have had this opportunity anywhere else. Well, that's a fact. That's true. Can't argue that point. But the fact of the matter is that, you know, it'd be easy for those guys. Hey, I got my millions. You know, I'm just going to play with my Lamborghinis and live in my mansion and go to the fancy clubs that you talk about and not worry about, you know, the people who I left behind. Well, you know, it takes a lot of guts or balls to stand up in front of millions, or in this case, take a knee because of a cause. Now, some of these athletes have already lost millions of dollars in sponsorships. Now, you think they deserve that? Well, you know, the thing is, they didn't have to stand up, and by standing up, they knew they were taking a risk. But you want to denigrate them. You know, you should celebrate them because they're looking out for your people, LNT. I mean, really, you know, you talk about all the other things, you know, the black on black crime and how bad that is. We all know how bad that is. We do. I mean, what you think we don't? Do you think the mainstream media is going to put that on the TV, have those protests? Good luck. Why don't you go for it? See how far you get. But like I said, I respect the fact that you have your own opinion. I just think the Matrix has you. You're missing the point. You know, just like they say in the Matrix, you know, these people are so dependent upon the system, you know, that they'll fight to the death, you know, to defend and protect the system that enslaves them. I mean, What is it? What's the last lines of the anthem? Land of the free, home of the brave. Are you kidding me? It's more like land of the freaks, home of the slaves. You're not free. You say your grandparents were slaves. My great-grandparents were slaves. But the thing is, you and I are a slave. If you don't get to keep every penny that you earn, then you're a slave. You talk about the subjects in England. Well, we're subjects. You don't pay your property taxes, they take your property away. You don't pay your income taxes, they put you away. So, I mean, you think you're free? Wake up. You know, you're plugged in. The Matrix has you. It's just that simple. And the most important point here is, and others have said it, they may have even said it before I did, but the thing is, you've got white people telling black people that they're doing something wrong again. And that's part of the problem. You know, like there's this one guy, I think he's on The Daily Show, I forget his name, but I'll put the link in the comments. He's like, when are black people supposed to protest? How are they supposed to protest? When is it okay for us to protest? It just boggles my mind that people can't see this. It's just so obvious. You know, it's the same stuff, different decade. I know viewers, you hear me say that, but you know, Richard Pryor back in the 60s and 70s, you know, was making jokes, you know, oh, officer pulls you over. He comes up to the window. I am reaching into my pocket because I don't want to be a MF accident. You know, that was going on back then. Hey, it's 2017. Let's see, 60s to 70s to 80s to 90s to the 2000s to the 10s going on the 20s. 5, 6 decades. Same stuff, different decade. Why are we still having this conversation? Nothing's changed. That's why. I mean, really. People just don't seem to get it. You know, and until people start listening for understanding, and instead of trying to pick apart what people are saying in the first place, it ain't never going to change. I mean, in every argument, there's always somebody talking about similarities on one side and the differences on the other. And when that happens, you don't have any communication. You're just talking past each other. It's like, get on the same page. Let's talk about the similarities. Then, after we talk about the similarities, then maybe we can discuss the differences. But you got to pick one, stick with it. You know, it's real simple. Are you trying to tell me... In fact, LNT, you did say that this country isn't racist. Once again, let's define what the country is. We're not talking about the geographical area, the landmass on planet Earth. We're talking about the people on that landmass and the systems and institutions and organizations that they've created. I mean, it's real simple, you know? And it's just something, if you've never, ever been discriminated against, you ain't going to understand. You're not. You're just simply not going to understand. Until it happens to you, you don't have a clue as to what it feels like. You don't. You might think you do. You might think you do. You might say you do, but you don't. And LNT, you know, I understand. You serve for the Marine Corps. You went to Harvard Law School. Good for you. It's an accomplishment you should be proud of. But, on the other hand, there's people who didn't have those opportunities. And sometimes those opportunities were probably denied those people just because they were this color. Hey, you know, I don't play the race card. I don't need to. You know, I've got mine. I made it. But the thing is, I know there's other people. And if I see something wrong, if I don't do anything to stand up, what am I? You know, if you see somebody beating a woman and you just walk by and do nothing, what are you? You know, sometimes you got to stand up. You just have to. Maybe all you do is dial 911. At least you did something. Or maybe you say, hey man, you know, you should, you know, knock that off. Cut it out. You know, maybe maybe you have to get in their face. Maybe it comes to fisticuffs. Maybe you have to draw your weapon. But if you just walk by and do nothing, what are you? And it's the same thing here. You know, if people are being affected by something that's wrong, you got to stand up. It takes courage. You know, you put yourself on the line. You might put your life on the line. It takes courage. I'm sure you know about that because you were a Marine and you served, right? But, you know, you're making it sound like it's all well and good here in America. Yes, there's opportunities. Thing is, the playing field isn't always level. So yeah, these guys bouncing the ball make millions, or running the ball make millions, or catching the ball make millions, and hitting the ball make millions. You know, the thing is, if they don't reach back to where they came from and try and bring some people along, or stand up for these people, speak for these people, because nobody will listen to them, but because of where they are, who they are, what they play, you know, they've got the venue. They've got the audience. People listen. You know, and hey, if you want to turn your back on NFL football because of what these players do, that's your choice. If you think that's voting with your dollars, that's all well and good. But the thing is, there's a bigger issue here than sports. And you seem to be missing that point. You really do. And it's kind of sad, actually. It really is. Because the bottom line is, if this flag doesn't live up or rather, if this flag here, the country that's represented by this flag, country being the people, institutions, systems, and organizations thereof, don't live up to the with liberty and justice for all, land of the free, home of the brave, if it doesn't live up to that, then there's no way I'm going to respect that flag. It's just that simple. Once again, it's like high school. Don't talk about Einstein. Don't talk bad about Einstein unless you're from Einstein, because that's where I went. Albert Einstein High School, Kensington, Maryland. So I'll stand up for it. But amongst my classmates, yeah, we'll talk about it. And that's what's going on here. It's that simple. You know, there is a First Amendment. And I think constitutional rights trump everything. Everything. So if you work for a business, they don't get to take away your constitutional rights. They might tell you your dress code and codes of conduct, but the thing is, in this country, you can't be forced to worship. And, you know, standing up and saluting a flag, that's a form of worship, okay? Can't be forced to do that. Not in this country. And that's what people fought for. But back to the Matrix, you know, probably since World War II, which my father served in, maybe, I don't even think Korea counts. I'm not putting down the men and women who serve, but the fact is, our freedoms are not jeopardized. I don't see anybody over here trying to take away our freedoms. The people taking away our freedoms are our own government. You swore an oath to fight the enemies, foreign and domestic. It's the domestic enemies that are the real threat to America and what it's supposed to stand for. That's the facts, Jack. You know what? Wake up and smell the hypocrisy.